Welcome to Campfire Stories.
Welcome back to the fire, friends. When we left him, Lucas Meyers was 19 years old, sitting on a plane to Vancouver Island with $30,000 in a duffel bag, 1 gold bar already sold, and 49 more buried in the cold ground beside a water tower at the Cochrane turnoff. He thought the hard part was behind him. He was wrong about that, the way you are wrong about a thing right up until it finds you.
I have been thinking about that boy all week, Marty. $30,000, and I'll bet you it did not buy him one good night's sleep.
Not one. He took a room in a little town on the island, up the coast from Nanaimo, the kind of place where the fog comes in off the water and sits on the roofs till noon. Paid a month up front, cash, and watched the landlady count it twice and look at his face while she did it. And that was the first lesson. Carol, a broke kid and a rich kid can both hitchhike. But a broke kid can spend his last $5 and nobody blinks. A kid with a coffee can full of hundreds cannot buy a used truck without a grown man wondering where it came from.
Oh, that is the cruel little joke of it, isn't it? He has got the money and he cannot touch it. All that gold in the ground and he is still eating out of tins, so nobody asks him a question.
Exactly that. He wanted a vehicle, so he could not have a nice one. He wanted a bank account, so he could not make a deposit that would raise a flag. He carried the cash on his body and slept with the duffel under the mattress, and every gray car that came up the coast road made his stomach drop through the floor. Because there is a gray car in this story, Carol, and he had left it in a hospital loading zone in Calgary, and some nights he could still hear it idling.
The Mercedes. Of course, he drove a dying man's car for one afternoon, and it is never going to leave him. Marty, that is guilt. That is not fear yet. That is guilt wearing fear's coat.
You've got a sharp eye tonight. And here is where the guilt got its answer. About 3 weeks in, Lucas did a thing he could not help doing. He walked to the little library in that town, and he read the Calgary papers, the back pages, looking for one particular man. And he found him. A small notice, 4 lines. An elderly man, no identification, brought to Calgary General in late August had passed. Body unclaimed. No next of kin had come forward. If anyone had information, please contact the coroner's office.
Oh, the poor old soul. He died. He died with strangers, Marty, no name, nobody to claim him. That dear man gripping the wheel on the Trans-Canada, and that is how it ended. Unclaimed.
Unclaimed. And Lucas sat in that library with the newspaper shaking in his hands. And I want to tell you he felt sorrow, and he did. But underneath the sorrow was a colder thing, and he hated himself for feeling it. Because unclaimed Carol meant something. No next of kin. No family tearing the country apart. No wife, no son, nobody with a name to put on that gold and say, "That is mine, give it back."
And there is the boy's whole soul in one moment. He is grieving a stranger and doing arithmetic at the same time, and he cannot forgive himself for the arithmetic. Marty, I could weep for him. But you are telling me nobody is looking. So why is my heart still going?
Because he did the arithmetic wrong, Carol. He thought, no family, no problem. But you and I have both lived long enough to know a thing the boy did not. A man does not carry half a ton of Swiss gold across the mountains for himself. Old fellow. No English, no wallet, no papers of any kind. That is not a rich man on a holiday. That is a courier. That is a man carrying something for somebody else. And somebody else does not read the obituaries. Somebody else waits for a delivery that never comes.
Oh. He was carrying it. It was never his to begin with. So the people it belonged to, they are just now realizing their old man and their gold both walked into Alberta and never walked out.
Now you have got it. And they had one thread to pull, the same as Lucas did. Remember the one bar he kept? The single 10-kilo bar he slid into his backpack, that he sold to a quiet gentleman in Vancouver's Chinatown for the favor of no questions. That gentleman took his cut and passed that gold along, the way that gold always moves, quiet hands to quiet hands. But it was Swiss, Carol. Refinery-stamped. A little cereal pressed into the metal. And gold like that has a family, and the family notices when one of its children turns up on the wrong side of the country.
So the very bar he was sure was untraceable, the one clean thing he did, that is the thread. Marty, that is always the way, isn't it? The one loose end you are proudest of.
The one you think is clever. Somewhere in the last week of that summer, a man whose name we will get to sat in a back room in Vancouver and turned a 10-kilo bar over in his hands and read a serial number he recognized. And he did not call the police, Carol, and that is the whole thing. That is the engine of everything that comes after. Because you cannot report stolen gold that was never legal to own. These people could not go to the law any more than Lucas could. Which meant they would have to find it themselves. And find him themselves.
Oh, that is worse. That is so much worse. If it were the police, there would be rules, there would be a lawyer, there would be a jail, and an end to it. But this has no rules and no bottom.
No bottom. And they started where anyone would. The last place the old man was seen alive. A Mercedes towed from a hospital loading zone in Calgary. A boy the emergency nurses half remembered, brought the old fellow in and then vanished. A route running west, into the mountains toward the coast. They followed it the way water finds a crack, slow and patient and downhill, and it pointed one direction. Off the island's edge. Toward a foggy little town up the coast from Nanaimo.
Where he is. Where that boy is right now, sleeping with a duffel bag under his mattress, thinking the worst is over. Marty, he does not even know they exist.
He did not. Until a Tuesday in September. Lucas had finally taken a bit of work, cash under the table, stacking lumber at a mill yard, just to have somewhere to put his hands and his hours. And he was walking back to his room at dusk when he saw a car that did not belong. Not a gray Mercedes. A clean, dark sedan, rental plates parked outside the one cafe in town. And a man leaning on the counter inside. Well-dressed. Too well-dressed for a mill town. Patient. Asking the girl behind the till something easy and friendly, and the girl was pointing up the coast road.
No. No, Marty, he sees him.
He sees him. And here is the mercy and the curse of it both. Lucas saw the man before the man saw Lucas. He was across the street in the blue light with sawdust still on his sleeves, and something older than thought told him to keep walking. Do not stop. Do not look twice. And as he passed the window, he heard just 3 words of it, drifting out the open cafe door. A young fellow. Come into money. This summer.
Oh, my heart. Those exact words. Marty, I have got chills straight down my arms. They are describing him to the girl who sells him his coffee. And he is standing 10 feet away with the whole thing on his back.
10 feet away, and he kept his legs moving, though he told me later he does not know how. He walked past that cafe like a man who had somewhere ordinary to be, and he did not run until the road bent and the town was behind him. And then he ran, Carol. All the way to that little room, and he pulled the duffel from under the mattress, and he sat on the floor in the dark with his back against the door and his heart going like a hammer, and he understood, finally and completely, what he had done back at the Cochrane turnoff. It was not a lucky day. It never had been. It was a debt, and the collector had just walked into his town and asked for him by description.
Come back for us, friends, because I cannot leave that boy sitting against the door in the dark. Who is the well-dressed man, and how in the world did they find a foggy little town on Vancouver Island so fast? Did the old man tell someone at the end, or was it that one clean bar all along? And Lucas, with $30,000 and 49 more in a hole 2 provinces away, does he run again and keep running the rest of his life? Or does he do the one desperate thing that could save him, get back to Alberta and dig up that gold before they close the last few miles? I do not know whether to tell him to run or tell him to fight. Maybe both. Maybe there is no good answer left for a boy who bought a shovel.
Every one of those questions has an answer, and we will get to everyone. Until then, sleep warm, keep the fire between you and the dark, and remember some debts wait years and still get paid in full. I'm Marty Shepherd.
And I'm Carol. Hold your people close tonight. We will see you for part 3.